Hi, in this session we will discuss about SAP Fiori. So this is the agenda which we will be covering in this session. First of all, the overview of SAP Fiori solution, UX paradigm, UX strategy relating to SAP Fiori, and lastly we will cover the SAP Fiori apps. So first of all, what is user experience? So as we all know that SAP Fiori is based out of SAP Fiori user experience. So when we say this user experience term, what exactly does that mean? So user experience is basically about the overall experience that a person has when using any product, whether it's a website or any application, or whether it's on a mobile, on a handheld device or on a desktop. So when using all these applications, what matters is like how easy they are to use, how pleasing they are to use, and how close they get to the end user. So this is what SAP is considering in all the products and all the systems at SAP. So the user experience needs to be as simple as possible so that the users can achieve their goals as well as possible when interacting with the SAP systems. So let's take an example. So say if somebody wants to purchase any online product, it might be a television. So that same user would expect if they need to order something from a cell phone, the process would be the same in terms of ease and simplicity. So what does that mean? That if somebody is using one application from any laptop or a desktop, so they expect the same kind of experience, same kind of ease and same kind of interface from any other device like a tablet or from a mobile phone. So this is all what the user experience is. Now, what is the user experience comprise of? So when the right balance happens between the three concepts of technology, business needs and desirability, that interaction where the innovation is really happening. So to quote from the user experience strategy, following these three design principles, that is the technology, business and the human values, SAP will make superior user experience and will design an integral part of a brand experience. So basically we are targeting, SAP is targeting on the feasibility, on the viability and on the desirability of the applications. So SAP is not only focusing on this user experience to be implemented on SAP Fiori, rather they are considering all their applications which are available in the market and they want to implement the same user experience to all of them. So this is about the user experience. Now, what is the SAP's UX strategy to achieve these? So now to reach these design goals, SAP has developed a user experience strategy which consists of three main components, that is renew, new and enable. So when we say new, so new is basically to provide the consumer grade user experience for the new applications. So basically all the applications which are yet to be built, they come under the new. Then we have renew. Renew is basically to provide to improve the user experience of existing applications, starting with the most commonly used business scenarios. So basically the renew will be applied to the already existing applications like SAP Fiori. Then we have the enable. Enable means it is to enable the customers by giving them the ability to improve the user experience of any SAP software that allows them to decide which business scenarios are most mission critical for them. So enable will help the customers to improve their user experience of the softwares which is most mission critical for them. So this strategy is further complemented by SAP's offerings of specific user design services that aim to support customers in their future user experience endeavors. Now, then we have the requirements for SAP Fiori. So say if somebody wants to learn or wants to work on SAP Fiori, so what are the things that are good to have or good to know? So the person who is having the knowledge on the ABAP program and the objects, HTML5, JavaScript, SAP UI5, ERP implementation experience, OData, SAP NetWeaver Gateway or SAP HANA. So all these are like good to have technologies. So if somebody has a good experience on any of these or all of these, so it will be very beneficial for that person and it will be more easy to work on SAP Fiori solution. Now we have the UX strategy in detail. So when we talked about the new, renew and enable in the previous slide, so we will cover it in more detail now. So like, what is SAP Fiori and why SAP Fiori? So SAP Fiori is a user experience and it is the center of renew part of the strategy. So basically we called it as a renew part of the strategy because we already have the SAP ECC transactions or SAP CRM, HCM, so all other module transactions which we already have in the SAP systems. And using SAP Fiori, we are trying to improve the user experience for the already existing systems. So that's why we called it as the renew part of the strategy. So SAP took the most commonly used business scenarios and created the Fiori applications for them. So Fiori is the new user experience for SAP software which will provide the optimal usability for simplified business interactions and it will provide the greater ease of use. So now SAP has already about 300 plus scenarios and that is the 300 plus apps under the SAP Fiori apps and it is growing day by day. So they are spanning a number of business areas and a number of business roles. So basically when we say the UX strategy, so it is not only confined to SAP Fiori, rather it is applicable to other SAP systems as well. So now in this slide we can see that the new applications, we have the new part, then under the renew we have the existing applications, and for the enable it means that we have the enablement tools such as the SAP screen personas which we will be covering in the later sessions. Now what's the secret of a real business? So it's simple, that is, it is getting the insight that need at the right time for an instant value. So instead of struggling to connect to the analysis with execution, the users will get the power of faster than ever advanced analytics to drive the smart decisions for instant insight into the data. So basically instead of making the users wait, SAP Fiori will help them to be responsive, enabling them to see what they need quickly and interactively. So instead of the information at the multiple places, so it's a single source of truth so that the users can analyze the key performance indicators with the real-time consistent information and it will trigger the follow-up actions immediately. So instead of using the days, hours or even the minutes old information, it will provide the up to the second view of any business situation. So basically what happens is, right now we are dependent on the other systems. So that's why the users have to wait for days, for number of hours or even for the minutes as well. So when they want to get the data. But using this new user experience, the whole data, everything is at the one place and the users would get the access to that place so that they can get up to the second view of the data. Now whatever the line of business is, we can personalize it and we can provide the real-time information anywhere and anytime for the instant insight into the action. Now think about the word today in terms of technology. So everybody, starting from the younger generation to the business users, so everybody is demanding the same ease and the simplicity of the business processes. So that's why it comes up with the UX strategy. Now let's move to the next slide. Now we have the UX paradigm. So in this slide we are just showing the SAP Fiori Launchpad. So let's take a simple example first. So all of us access the websites like Google, Amazon on the daily basis. So what is good about all those websites? So these are like very easy to use. So this new situation is defined as the consumer user experience, and it is the new standard going forward. SAP Fiori is the new user experience for SAP software. It will apply the modern design principles for a completely reimagined user experience. It is the new face of SAP to the business users, because now the business users won't go into that gray and blue screens of SAP ECC, CRM, HCM. Rather, they will have a more beautiful and easy to use experience for all those transactions using the SAP Fiori UX. It will provide the optimal usability for the simplified business interactions and ease of use. So now let's talk about each part of the strategy. So the new part is to provide the consumer grade user experience for all the new applications. Renew is where the SAP Fiori UX is developed, and then we have the last part, which is the enablement. So the enablement is basically to enable the users to customize what they already have. So now in the Fiori UX paradigm, we have 300 plus role based applications which include the different roles like HR, finance, manufacturing, etc. So now an example of such enablement can be as SAP screen personas. So all these enablements come under the enable part of the strategy. Now we have the so we called it SAP Fiori. So whenever we see the SAP Fiori homepage, we will see the flower pictures, and the reason being that the Fiori means flowers in Italian, and it represents the intent to deliver the consumer grade, completely reimagined user experience to most broadly and frequently used business transactions. SAP Fiori UX is the new face of SAP. Now in this slide, on the right hand side, we can see this picture. So this picture is basically the launch pad, which is the central entry hub to all the SAP Fiori apps via the tiles. So now instead of accessing the multiple systems like ECC, CRM, HCM, so there is a single point of entry for the users, which will provide them with all the functionalities, which is a SAP Fiori launchpad. So in addition, it can be adapted to meet end user needs. So users will enter the launchpad through their device of choice. That is, it can be a tablet, it can be a desktop, it can be any handheld device, and are greeted with the apps that are assigned specifically to their roles. These apps will allow the end users to easily conduct the transactions, get insight, and take the action, as well as view the fact sheets and the contextual information. So basically we will discuss about the different app types which comes under the SAP Fiori in the later session today. Now let's move to the next slide. So these are the design principles for SAP Fiori. So there are 5 design principles for SAP Fiori UX. The first design principle is role based. It means that it is designed for you, your needs, and how you work. So SAP Fiori apps are centered only to the tasks that are relevant for a specific user function on the role. To achieve this, SAP broke down the complex applications into easy to use apps that are tailored to end users' needs and accessible from one single place. It means that earlier what was happening is that whether it is a manager, whether it is an employee, so all have to go to all the screens and whole of the data irrespective of the role they are playing. But now with SAP Fiori design principles, the person will only be able to get what is relevant to that person. The second design principle is responsive. So when we say responsive, it means that support how and where you work at any time. So SAP Fiori UX is designed and developed to facilitate a consistent user experience on multiple devices. It supports multiple form factors for phones, tablets, desktops, multiple interactions such as touch, mouse, keyboard, and multiple technologies including iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, and PC. So basically it is responsive. That means that we can access SAP Fiori UX from anywhere and in any form. Now the third design principle is simple. So when we say simple, it means it is focused on what is important. So instead of getting the whole data which is not even relevant to you, so you will be able to get the things which are important for you. So now SAP Fiori UX is focused on delivering a straightforward, intuitive user experience, focusing only on what is important for each specific user. Then the fourth design principle is the coherent. Coherent means provides one fluid, seamless experience. So all the new Fiori apps, they speak the same language so that the deployment and use are easy no matter what the circumstances are. So basically these apps all feel similar because they are all based on established best practices. So whatever app you will, so as I said that we have 300 plus apps in the SAP Fiori. So all the apps in SAP Fiori, they will look alike. That is because of the similar user experience, and that is why we call it as a coherent. Now all the Fiori apps look similar. So the fifth design principle is delightful. Delightful means makes an emotional connection with the user. So basically beyond the expected and making an emotional connection with the end users. SAP wanted to make end users better at their jobs, to feel like they are an expert and can easily see the impact of their contribution, and to provide the business users with the beautiful apps that enable them to be smart and proactive by providing an assistant, not just a tool. It means why we call it as delightful, because they are very easy to use. So the person with even not that much of technical knowledge, so they can easily access the Fiori apps. So these are the 5 design principles put together to create a beautiful user experience which is consistent regardless of your role in the organization. So basically the employees and the managers alike gain a consistent, coherent, simple and intuitive user experience across all the multiple devices to work smarter, work more efficiently and deliver on business objectives. So now as we have talked about the design principles, now let's move to the old UX versus new UX. So in this slides, basically this slide gives you an overview of what the SAP user experience used to look like and what it will look like now following the new user experience, that is SAP Fiori UX. So in this slide on the left hand side you can see this is the transaction, this is the SAP screen. It can be from the SAP ECC, it can be from the HCM. So the same kind of screen was there earlier, but now after the SAP Fiori implementation, on the right hand side you can see how it looks like now. So this slide shows the approve requisition and ERP function. So the left hand side shows what it used to look like and the right shows what it looks like using an SAP Fiori app. So before, everybody was accessing the same transactions to accomplish the task regardless of the roles. So which resulted in the end users being exposed to much more data than they needed or even had access to. So basically there was a need to simplify this process. So the SAP has focused on the roles of end users and extracted only the relevant information needed per role to complete a task. An employee, for example, would see different fields than a manager. All the SAP Fiori UIs are built using the SAP UI5 technology. UI5 is a client-side HTML5 rendering library which is a rich set of UI controls for building the applications on any device, providing a lightweight programming model for desktop and the mobile applications. So that's why when we say that having a good knowledge on UI5 and HTML5 is definitely a good point if you want to work on SAP Fiori, because all the front end of SAP Fiori is based out of UI5 and the HTML5. So if you want to customize any of the SAP Fiori apps which are coming as a part of the SAP Fiori toolset, so you need the knowledge of UI5 and the HTML5. So in this training we will be covering the SAP UI5 fundamentals later on. Definitely not in this session, but later on we will be covering the UI5 fundamentals. Now, so the next thing is the business user challenge. So like what was the need, of SAP Fury? So right now we have discussed what is SAP Fury, what all design strategies are used, and like what all design principles are followed. Now what was the business user challenge, what was the issues that were happening? Because of that the need for SAP Fury arises. So let's start by discussing the current challenge faced by the business users. So basically these are all the problems which the business users are facing right now. That is the large amount of data, the unstructured data, fast data velocity, scenario planning, fact-based decisions, and the real-time response. So these are the various challenges which our business users are facing right now. So they have the access to the lot of data but have no way to use it for timely decisions and execution. Further adding to the challenge, business users are under an immense amount of pressure on a daily basis. They are faced with having to deal with the challenges of 3 V's of big data, that is the volume, velocity, and the variety, while at the same time being asked to make the critical decisions based on the analysis of data. For example, making the flexible long-term plans that can mitigate the future uncertainty through the scenario planning, or responding to the deviations and alerts in the real time and within a certain window of opportunity. So these are the big changes to address, and they can require the changes in both the underlying enterprise software architecture as well as the user experience. So basically these are the challenges which comes up. So the SAP has focused on all these challenges and they come up with the SAP Fury solution. The key requirement basically here is the responsiveness of the system. The business users need immediate answers to the very precise questions. So by combining the analytics with the transactions, business users can now get a unified access to information within a context at their fingertips. So they are getting the 360-degree view of the real-time information on any device across all the SAP Business Suite applications and even beyond that. So Suite of HANA returns both the structured data such as the business objects and the unstructured data, that is the HTML file, presentations, etc. from the SAP systems and other such providers. So it will also allow the direct access to associated applications and the actions, combined with the people-centric interfaces and Google-like search functionalities. So this new approaches brings much more flexibility, speed, and powerful information to the users. As an example, business users usually only enter the data when finally required at the latest point in time. They do this to avoid repeated waiting times. But the problem with this is it drives the wrong decisions, as the data can be required by any other department sooner. So to avoid all these things, SAP Fury is launched and which will help the users to make their decisions much better. So this is right here is the beauty of SAP Fury. So now we have talked about the SAP Fury, the challenges because of which the SAP Fury arises. So this slide is again showing the today and the SAP Fury UX. So in the today's scenarios, we have the function-based applications. So when we say the function-based applications, it means that we have segregated the applications based on the base of CRM, that is the customer relationship management. We have the HCM, that is for the HR systems, and we have the ECC. So right now we have the function-based applications in SAP. That is from one transaction for multiple roles, exposing all the data and all the functions to all the users. There are multiple entry points for the user and inconsistent user experience. So basically there are separate systems for SAP, ECC, ERP, HCM, CRM. So now on the right hand side we can see the SAP Fury UX. So this is the major difference between the today and the SAP Fury UX. SAP Fury UX is a role-based applications. So now what SAP has done is that they have focused on the roles rather than the functions. So they have decomposed the apps for each role, exposing only the relevant data and the applications and the functions to the users. There is only one entry point for the users, and the UX following the common design directions. That is, there is a single entry point which is the SAP Fiori Launchpad, wherein we have the different tiles which are exposed for the each role, and the users can see only those tiles which are relevant to their roles. So this is all about the SAP Fiori UX. Now let's see how it looks like. So now we will see SAP Fiori UX in demo. So this is the SAP Fiori trial version. We'll just see how it looks like. So now can you see on the screen that we have the different applications, we have the CRM, we have the different tiles. So this is basically the home page of the SAP Fiori Launchpad. So this is how it looks like. So first of all, we have the CRM and then the tiles corresponding to CRM, then we have the cross, then we have the retail and the tiles underneath, then we have the travel and the expense, and we have like different tiles, that is the approved travel request, approved travel expenses, my travel request, my travel expenses. Then we have for the logistics, we have different applications, that is the approved purchase contracts, approved purchase orders, order from requisition, approved requisition. Then for the accounting, logistics, that is the sales and distribution, we have different tiles. Then for the human capital management, we have the tiles like my pay stubs, my benefits, my leave request. So all these tiles will be visible to you as per the role you have. So it's not like that everybody will be able to see all the tiles on SAP Fiori Launchpad. No, rather it will be like you will be having the access only to those tiles which are relevant to your role and the tiles to which you are provided the access with. So this way we will be able to access n number of Fiori apps and through the SAP Fiori Launchpad. So basically the users have to log into this SAP Fiori Launchpad and they can perform the different functions. So generally what happens is, like say if we are in a SAP ECC system and I have to use the transaction PA30, that is for the master data management or the HR data. So I have to log into the tool and then I have to enter the n number of screen, I have to enter the n number of steps. So all these are the kind of hassle to the end users. So now let's see how easy it is when we are using the SAP Fiori Launchpad to do these actions. So let me go to the human capital management apps. So say if I want to create my leave request, so I will click on this launch my leave request and it will open up the calendar for me, wherein I can see what kind of leave I want to apply for. It can be a paid leave, it can be a vacation or a floating holiday, sickness, business trip. So usually this thing we do when we raise a leave request in our system. So we have to choose any of these depending on our need. After that we have to select what we want to do now. So say if I want to create a leave request for 6th of July. So what I will do, I will select that date and then on the right hand side we have the approver information, like who will be my approver. It will be Timmy Tabasco. Then any notes, if we want to send any additional notes with the time request, with the leave request, we can send it and enter it in the notes area. After that we have to click on this send. So once we will click on this send, so we will be able to get this message that send this leave request to Timmy Tabasco. The category is the paid leave. Now the from and the to date, then requested. Then after that we have to click on this OK. And you will get the message that your leave request was sent to Timmy Tabasco. In the same window we have the options of checking the history, that is which all leaves I have applied to. So if I'll click on this, I will be able to see like what all leaves I have applied to, whether it was a paid leave, a vacation, so all the different sickness, so all the different leave types I will be able to check in my history. After that, if I want to do any changes, I can change from here, or if I want to withdraw my leave request, so I can directly do it by clicking on this withdraw. Now if I go back, I can check the entitlements. So if I click on this entitlement, so I will be able to see like what I am entitled for, how much leave balance I have. So for the sick time accrual, I have the available balance of -2 hours, the used, and then the entitlement, the total entitlement. Similarly, we have for the floating holiday, like what was the available balance, how much I have used, how much I was entitled for. So all these things I can easily check using the same app. So this way we can see that how easy it was to apply for a leave request. Now let's see an example of a sales and distribution. So if I go up, I will be able to see under the logistics we have the sales and distribution apps, that is the check price and availability, create the sales order, change the shipping address, customer invoices, track the sales order. So all these kind of apps we have under the sales and distribution. So let's take an example of create sales order. So if I click on this create sales order, it will open up the similar kind of interface which I have seen earlier for the leave request. So it's so we can imagine how easy it is and how familiar the user will be, how they can relate each and every app with each other since it is a same user experience. Now we have to select the customer from where we want to, for whom we want to create the sales order. So say if I select this one and click on OK, so the window will come up and it will show me the details of this particular. So now we will be able to see the different items, the quantity, the price, and the subtotal for it. So say if I want to buy this item, I'll click on this add to cart. After that, I'll be able to see the items which I've added in the cart. So we'll just go here and it will show the delivery schedules, like the customer is this. So basically I'm sending the goods to this customer. So the requested delivery, so say the customer has requested for June 17, 2015. After that, it is showing what all items are there. After that, we'll click on this checkout. Then we have the review shipping. So in the it is showing me the complete address, city, state, zip, country, every detail of this particular customer. And then we will go to the review order. And then we can place the order. So we are in the single window, we are able to see everything and we can make sure that it is fine. After that, we have to click on this place order. So now it has shown that it is successful, that the order has been submitted. The order number is 20913. So this way we are able to see, and we will click on OK. Now if I want to create another order, we can same way we can do it. And also if I want to check the history, on the left hand side we have all the orders, we have all the products related to this particular customer. So this way easily we can from the single interface, that is the SAP Fiori Launchpad, the user is able to do multiple actions and they can check the real-time data with the analytical apps as well. So these two are the example of the transactional apps. So we will go further, and in the next session we will be like showing you the different app types, like what are the different app types and how we can use them. So if the person wants to do the transactions, so they can use for the transactional apps. Then we have the analyticals and the fact sheets. So basically the SAP Fiori Launchpad will provide you a web-based entry point for SAP business applications. So the end users can access the Launchpad from any device, and based on their login they will be presented with the tiles assigned to the user. So the Launchpad will act as a shell which will provide the beneficial capabilities for SAP Fiori, such as personalization, navigation and search. So let's go back to the PPT now. So this is basically how my SAP Fiori Launchpad looks like, which we just saw in action. So it is designed according to the simple SAP Fiori user experience while supporting established UI technologies. SAP is moving from the classical transactional approach to the user-based, role-based apps that will expose only the relevant information and the fields so that end users can work more productively and efficiently. So basically SAP has developed 3 app types, each of them distinguished by their focus and infrastructure requirements. So the first app type are the transactional apps, and as the name indicates, they allow the users to perform the transactional tasks such as creating, changing or processing requests. So the two apps which we have seen just now, that is the create sales order and the my leave request. So these two are the part of the transactional apps. The second app types are the analytical apps, and they will allow the users to have the role-based insight into the real-time operations of business by collecting and displaying the key figures directly in the browser. So basically the analytical apps offer the ability to monitor most important KPIs in real time, where the users can react immediately on changes in market conditions or the operations. So basically the analytical apps will help the users to see the analytical data, that is the key performance indicators, so they can see the real-time data in the same GUI, that is the SAP Fiori Launchpad, and they will be able to take the informed decisions on the basis of that real-time data. Then we have the third app type, which are the fact sheets. So the fact sheets are used to display the contextual information about the central objects used in the business operations. The fact sheets will allow you to navigate from one fact sheet to the another fact sheet, related fact sheet, or to the transactional apps. That means that from the fact sheet we can traverse to any other. So say if I take the example of a material fact sheet. So if I am in a material fact sheet, I'll be able to traverse to any other transactional app or to another related fact sheet. So the transactional apps have been developed to work on any database, but they do run based on the SAP HANA. And analytical apps and the fact sheets require SAP HANA as the underlying database with no exceptions. So what does that mean? That my transactional apps can run on any database, but it is preferred to use the SAP HANA. But my fact sheets and the analytical apps, they are requiring the SAP HANA as a backend database. So we will be discussing all these 3 app types, what all app types we have, what is the infrastructure requirement, what is the architecture. So all these things we will discuss in the later session. So basically in this session we covered like what is the UX experience, what is the user experience, what are the strategies which SAP has followed. Then we went into the SAP Fiori Launchpad and we have seen the 2 apps in action, that are both are the transactional apps. Then we have covered what are the different 3 types of SAP Fiori apps, that is the transactional, analytical and the fact sheets. So this is all for this session. Thank you.